This is Shifting Our Schools, episode 71, Mrs. Udd's Kinders.
Listen up, educators. Are you looking to take your classroom to the next level? The technological shift in education is happening right now. If you're looking to integrate technology into your classroom, you're in the right place. Welcome to Shifting Our Schools with your host, Jeff Udd.
Well, welcome back to Shifting Our Schools. Thank you for tuning in and subscribing to us in your favorite podcast player, or if you found us via Twitter, now's the time to subscribe. I am so sorry that I missed the last couple episodes. I was busy consulting in my October consulting schedule. I got away from me there for a while, but it's great to be back. And we've got a great interview for you today. But it has been totally worth the time away working with schools and educators, looking at really, really amazing, some really great deep integration of technology in authentic and purposeful ways in the classroom. I was in Luxembourg working at the International School of Luxembourg, and then been back here working with teachers up in the Everett School District, just north here of Seattle, Washington, and just a lot of really great things happening. And it's been so much fun to have teachers really dig in and understand that our job is to create students for their future and not our past. And how many things do we teach that are, just things that we've always taught, and so we feel like we have to. I've had some great conversations this week. On Monday, we had kindergarten and first grade teachers, and really great conversations around even what kindergarten teachers are seeing as differences with students coming to school and understanding they don't know how to use a mouse, but struggling with even with a touchpad. But man, you give them a touch screen and they're all over the place. And just some of the things like, how are we teaching reading now when kids are reading online, and how are we teaching writing now, and when do we introduce keyboarding skills? Or it's just some really great conversations as we continue to think about the changes that this generation needs moving forward. We all get better when we share our stories, and that's what I love about this podcast and podcasting in general. If you listen to other podcasts, you probably get the same thing. And we would love to have you be a guest on our show and to have a chat about what you're doing in your school or what you're doing in your classroom. Please feel free to drop us a line over on the website, sospodcast.org, where you can either leave us a Flipgrid question. We've got our Flipgrid back up and running. It's been going fantastic. And man, I am loving showing Flipgrid to teachers. It's just so easy, and you can use it at so many different levels. So head on over to our website, sospodcast.org. Leave us a question on the Flipgrid, or you can fill out the contact form there. Let me know what you teach, and I'd love to have you on the podcast as well. It's always great to hear from our listeners. With that, when you're on the website, you might want to check out our 2 free email series. Up at the top, you'll see one called 30 Days, and that's 30 days of free PD for teachers. So you get an email a day for 30 days. That's videos and information about how do you use technology in authentic and purposeful ways. And we've got our new one over there as well now, the hashtag #HeyLookUp email series for parents. It's a 6 email series, 6 email series looking at helping parents just manage their digital world as well with their children. And so those are there for you. Those are completely free. So when you head over to sospodcast.org, check out the menu and you'll see those at the top. And speaking of kindergarten, I'm loving this week's interview. So last week, Jessica tagged me in a tweet showing what her kindergarten students were doing on their Chromebooks. And I always love it when we get to see the little ones using technology in really, truly authentic and purposeful ways. So I reached out to Jessica to see if she would share with us how she's using technology with her kids. And she was able to fit it in on a prep time on Friday, which is great. Gave up her prep time to share her story with all of us so that we can learn from her too. It's a great show, just talking about how we're using and some of the skills that she is already building with kindergarten students in her one-to-one classroom in kindergarten. How cool is that? And so with that, here's a great interview with Jessica Udd. And with that, on with the show. Okay, welcome everybody to another Shifting Our Schools podcast. I'm so excited to be here with Jessica today. Hello, Jessica. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. Sure. She's actually taking time out of her prep time to do this with us. So I really appreciate that. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us what district you work at, what do you teach, and then we'll get into how you're using tech with your kiddos.
My name is Jessica Udd, and I teach kindergarten at Lakeview Elementary in the Auburn School District. And yeah,
And that's it. Yeah.
and that's it.
And
That's what I
I
teach.
wish,
That's where I am.
and I wish everybody could see her because she's actually rocking her kindergarten headphones. So it's perfect. It looks really good. So we'll talk. Let's first talk about before we started recording. We were talking a little bit about how you got devices in your classroom, that you were writing grants. So kind of talk about like, is the district, like, help me understand, does the district not have very many devices in the kindergarten? And so you were just like, I need devices with my kids, and went and wrote grants, or how did that come about?
So we started 4 years ago going, we had some tablets in the classroom.
Okay.
And shortly after we got the tablets, the Google Play for Education store then went no more. And so it was very hard to use them when that avenue we were using was not being supported.
Thank you, Google.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of kindergarten's rollout. So we kind of had to wait till the next rollout. And so as everyone's getting Chromebooks, we were still on the tablet plan. And the more that the Chromebooks were coming into building and I could borrow and steal when I could, I'm just like, we got to get some in here. And so I wrote a grant to CenturyLink for a couple years. That never panned out. And then last year, an email came through the district that said, or grants for the Safeway Albertsons Foundation.
Oh.
And it said in there that most people that apply get it. So I thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. And so I wrote a grant for some Chromebooks, and I got a $7,000 grant, and it got me 18 360 flip touch Chromebooks. So they're Chromebooks, but they're still that touch screen that help, because I don't have mice for them to use. So sometimes the touchpad can be a little tricky for them. And then this year is the first year that last year, first grade went 2-to-1 with the flip touch Chromebooks. And this year, kindergarten is going 2-to-1 with the flip touch. So I just am lucky enough to now be 1-to-1 since I got my grant computers.
Cool. I love
and
it.
Then my extra 2-to-1s then went to my neighbor next door. So she's now 1-to-1.
1-to-1 in kindergarten. I love it.
And we're in this like weird pocket, like that there's only our 2 classrooms in this one corner. So the 2 of us, and she's not very techie. And so this year, I'm like, come on, we have them. You got to do it. This is what I'm doing. And it's gotten her a little bit more comfortable using technology.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
I love it. And talk to me a little bit, like, are you, because I was just doing some trainings with kindergarten teachers on Monday, and we were talking about some of the changes we're even seeing with kids coming into kindergarten. Are you finding like you were saying, like, running a trackpad, the fine motor skills of a trackpad for a lot of them can be frustrating. And we're beyond mice where you just touch the screen.
Yeah.
So are you finding that just the easiest? I mean, are they able to navigate a screen pretty easily? Are you finding that it's coming into kindergarten, like they've got that background?
I would say about half of them, I didn't really have to teach how. Before they even got computers, we were practicing, in the air, and then we're like, touch here in the air. Yeah. But once they got the device, like I'm watching how many are just using the trackpad that they haven't even, I didn't pre-teach it. And then others are still using the screen. But I think that they're just like, that's technology's their world. Yeah. And they just have already, I'm sure, seen it at home or have siblings that our district 6th and on, they get Chromebooks to take home. Right. And so I think that they're just seeing these devices more often, that they're just, even if they have never touched a touchpad, they have seen somebody use it.
Right. So
they know kind of what's it's supposed to do.
Yeah. So talk a little bit then about, like, what are you doing in a 1-to-1 kindergarten classroom? Like, are you finding, like, are you getting to a place where it's just like a kid has a million questions and you're like, go look it up, right there's the computer?
Well, in kinder, it's you'll get one question that leads to another, and we could probably be talking to Google all day long. Which is one of the reasons that I've thought about bringing an Alexa in, like,
Oh yeah.
hey Alexa, but she would just be talking all day. But what I want to use it in a purposeful way. So
Yeah.
it's not just them going on and going to ABC and playing
Yeah.
some game.
Right.
I want it to be in a very specific way that helps them. And so we've started the year. We use iReady for
Okay.
our math and reading assessments. So
Mhm.
um, a lot of their first introduction was just, this is how we log on to the computers, and this is where I want you to go. So iReady is a cube. So
Yeah.
I taught them when the thing comes up, we touch the present. I call it a present because they might
Yeah.
not know what a cube is, but they all know what a present is. So we go to the present. And in kindergarten, they use clever QR codes to log
Okay.
in.
Oh, cool.
So they just touch the screen, the camera comes up, they hold up their QR code, and boom, they're logged into their Google account, which
Very cool.
makes, logging in seamless.
Is that a
Uh,
program? What's that called?
so Clever,
Clever?
it's a single sign-on.
Okay.
So there's quite a few of our programs that are then linked to Clever that
Okay.
once they've signed on to Google through Clever,
Yeah.
then they're
Then
signed
sign into
into.
everything. Cool.
Mhm.
All right, I'll have to put a link to that for people. Clever, and it's just a QR code. That's awesome. That's so good for early elementary.
Last year we did, um, Trina Johnson, our computer science teacher,
Yeah.
she worked so hard teaching them how to type in their username and password. And then, by end of winter, they could independently do it, but it took a lot of repetition. And this year it was, I think, day 7 of
Wow.
kindergarten
That's
that we
great.
had computers out, whip out the QR code, they're signed on, and we're going.
Yeah, and you're actually getting to the learning tasks. That's so good. Very, very
So,
cool.
so that really cut back on or gained time to get
Yeah.
them logged on. And
Great.
so they started with the iReady, and then it was just, okay, so now you've been able to navigate here. Now let's go to Google Classroom. So then, like, the next task was getting them into my Google Classroom. And then I taught them, okay, this is with the district uses Symbaloo. So
Okay.
when they log in, the Symbaloo page opens up and there's a bunch of different icons. So then I taught them which one was the Google Classroom icon. And how you find my Google Classroom is look for my picture.
Yeah.
Because this year I don't have any readers. So
Okay.
I'm using icons and pictures. So I'm like, look for my picture.
Yeah.
You know what I look like. Type the letters, touch the letters above my name, and that gets them in. And so I had to help a couple with just joining the
Okay.
classroom.
Yeah.
But then once they're in, that was that. So then that was the next lesson. So then
Okay.
from there, we went to Seesaw.
Okay.
Then when the classroom, I have Seesaw is the only thing. So then they touch Seesaw. And so it's been like, this is just our only goal.
Yeah. I love
Just to practice and get slow. But now we're using Seesaw for video responses. So like
oh,
this afternoon, they're going to read this little book about bats and tell what they learned about bats in a video recording. And they
very
think
cool.
they're movie stars.
Of course. They're all
Mhm.
YouTubers, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I love it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then are you using that as an assessment piece, or what are you doing with that video then? Is it just to see their growth, or what's your outcome for the video?
Um, a little of both.
Yeah.
I want, eventually I will let parents join.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to bring parents in it just yet because I want there to be a little bit more substance. But Seesaw has been something that I've wanted to use and play around with because they have so many pre-made activities in the library. And and it's kind of all encompassing with the pictures, with the video. And I loved doing Flipgrid with the kids where they get to do the video recording. And this just encompassed everything into one, that I didn't have to go to multiple platforms. And so I want eventually that the kids can grab the Chromebook, sit down, get out a book, read the book, then they can watch themselves back reading. Then parents can see that, and then you can see growth.
Yeah.
Maybe for spring conferences, I'll have, a little bit like that, but
yeah,
I want it to be a little, some academic, but something that they can look back, that the kids can look back and go, oh, that is what we learned. Oh, that was fun when we did that. So rather than, oh, that's me saying my letter names again.
Yeah. I love that. And it's so crazy, like, to think that, you've had your kiddos for almost roughly 2 months now. We're coming up on like 2 months of school. And like, I'm just going to, like, you've used Clever, the QR codes, Symbaloo, Google Classroom, Seesaw, and Flipgrid in 2 months of school, teaching them all these different platforms and starting to figure out how they move together. That's impressive. I love that.
Love that. Plus our iReady and Wonders, our reading curriculum on too. So they're, to the point now that when they log in, I have to have on my whiteboard, I'll project up the Symbaloo page or whatever I want them to go to, and like circle, this is where you go. Because otherwise they're just get in there like, well, I can go here. Like they just kind of already know where to go.
Yeah.
They're just, they're comfortable with it.
Yeah. They're poking the screen and off they're going, huh?
Yeah.
And so how long, like, I love the way that you structured it. So it was like, our goal today is just to log in with the QR codes. And then it's like, now we're going to log in with the QR codes and we're going to go to Symbaloo. And then we're going to log in with the QR codes, go to Symbaloo, go to Google Classroom. I love that structure of teaching them that. How fast now, 2 months into the school year, when you say from the moment you're like, okay, let's grab the Chromebooks, to probably you have everybody in Flipgrid or Seesaw where you want them to be, like, how much class time is that taking?
5 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Because I'll be at the Chromebook cart.
Yeah.
And I'm not, only because they're brand new.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to let them go unplug and pull out yet. It's
like a brand new car, right? Until you get your first, you're going to protect those things.
I'm not there yet, but they know. I will say, okay, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go get your headphones. Those are in a bag, and I have their headphones are in one part of the classroom, and then their QR code login cards are in another part, so there's not a traffic jam.
Oh, cool.
And I'll say, go ahead and go get your headphones, your login card, put it at your desk, and come get your computer. And so there's just no traffic jams at any spot in the classroom. So everybody can maneuver, and they come get their computers and then log on and go up to wherever. Like, I'll have them go to my Google Classroom this afternoon to get to Seesaw, but I'll just circle, this is where we're going. When you got to this point, I'll say hands on your head, and they just sit there and they wait, because they're excited. And they, after we did the videos the last time, and it was just a simple, what's your favorite thing about school? Just to get them used to doing the recording. And then we watched them afterwards. And so then we had a little lesson like, okay, so we have some of these really nice headphones, and then we have the older ones with the microphone. Okay. A couple of them took the microphone and smashed it up to their lips. Yeah. And so then we had a little lesson on, okay, this is what it sounds like when you don't touch it. Well, when you're chewing on it, this is what it sounds like.
Yeah. Oh, those are such great lessons. I love that.
I don't anticipate anybody's going to do that today.
Yeah, that's good. That's all the learning, right? Learning how to do this stuff is so, I love all that. So over the last couple of years, I've been doing professional development with all of you down there in Auburn, Mm-hmm. And what if you think back through the professional development, what to you was what's your, maybe an aha moment you had, or your biggest takeaway?
Couple things. I think just not being afraid to use it, and kind of being given the okay of like, all right, go in, dive in, because the kids they're gonna figure it out. And to tell them, I'm learning at the same time, and to just it's okay to fail, but you just got to try. And it just gets easier every time. I think that's being given the green light to fail. And like, you just can't wait until it's the perfect time, because there's never going to be a perfect time. You just got to do it.
Exactly.
And
you're never going to know it all. Like, if you're going to wait to like, oh, I need to know exactly how this works before I let kids on it. Good luck with that. Like, back to, you guys bought these tablets. Excuse me. You bought these tablets. You're ready to rock and roll, and then Google Play Store goes away. Right? Like, if you wait, and this stuff is going to constantly change. There is no perfect time. You got to kind of just jump in and figure it out where you're at.
And when we were doing the videos, with the first time with Seesaw, I told the kids, this is my first time, because the teacher sees is different than the kids see sometimes. And so just figuring out how to get which buttons you push to get the video published. The first time we tried it, and then we're like, okay, let's watch them. And I go, and no videos are there.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, what happened? So then we go back and look. I'm like, oh, you guys, we were then supposed to click the green checkbox at the top. That didn't mean that it was all done and green, ready to go. You had to push it. And so that was a good, see, Mrs. Udd's learning at the same time lesson. And we're like, well, now you're going to be great the next time.
That's great. Oh, that's so good. I love it. And I love that you're sharing this stuff on Twitter as well. Where else? We'll make sure we put your Twitter handle in the show notes. So if people want to reach out to you, or if they want to follow you on Twitter to see what you're doing, or if anybody has other questions, we do have, other kindergarten teachers that listen to the podcast. So I'd love to, get you guys connected and just see what's going on as well. What is your Twitter handle?
Mrs. Udd's Kinders.
Mrs. Udd's Kinders. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. So Mrs. Udd's Kinders. Awesome. And then, cool. Is there any other place that you hang out online that people could follow you or find more?
Not related to my classroom. No.
Twitter's your place. Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's great. Well, I'll make sure that, again, we get that in and everything. That's so cool. Thank you for spending your prep time with me and talking about your kiddos and just the stuff you're doing in kindergarten. It's so incredible. I love that you're one-to-one and that you went out and made it happen for your kids with your grants. So I was
pretty determined. I told my principal last year when he walked in, and he just kind of was smiling, saying, well, you got the grant. And I was like, I told you I was going to find a way to get them.
Yeah, I love it. And what I love is there's so many stories of teachers who are just like, I want this for my kids. And you scrape and claw and do what you have to get that, and that's I'm always telling the story, from when I got started with my teacher leadership program of having every extra kid in 4th grade, because I wanted so many computers, so everybody's got their story. So that's great. But thank you for taking time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Shifting Our Schools with your host, Jeff Udick. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit sospodcast.org, facebook.com/Jeff Udick, and on Twitter @JUdick. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on Shifting Our Schools.